I'm Jeff McBride, and welcome to the McBride House of Mystery, home of the Magic and Mystery School here in Las Vegas. If you've seen any of my DVDs or videos in the past, you know that the type of magic that fascinates me is sleight of hand manipulation. And today I'm going to teach you the inner workings of my card act, an act that helped me win the Grand Prix of Magic in Monte Carlo presented by Prince Rainier, and helped me get into the Guinness Book of World Records. So get your cards and get ready. Here we go. Well, Howard Thurston was the magician that inspired me to be a great card manipulator. He was the first card manipulator that I ever read about when I was in school reading magic books out of the library. This is one of my favorite souvenirs, collector's item. It's a Thurston Good Luck throwing card. And it was said, I read the stories, that he could send these into the balconies of the theater, that people could yell out their seat and row number, and he would throw the card and it would land in their lap, and such things that legends are made out of. Well, now I finally have my own throw-out card too, and I'm so happy, and I'm going to teach you all of my secrets on how to throw the cards with as much accuracy and as skill that I possibly can. But let's take a look at the cards. There's a lot of cards on the market. Bridge-size cards, poker-size cards, plastic cards, back palming cards, thin cards. I use poker-size cards. They have no back border design. They have no white. That way, when I do the back palming, you can't see any white sticking out in between my fingers. I take the cards right out of the box because I go through so many decks of cards during a week's worth of shows at a casino. I remember when I was working at Caesar's Magical Empire, we would do 3, 4, sometimes 5 or 6 shows a day. That's a lot of cards when you're working there year after year. Take the cards out of the box, and I sprinkle them with a little bit of fanning powder. I sprinkle them with just a little bit of fanning powder, and I'll show you how I work it in to the edges of the cards. Now, these are for the cards that I'm going to be doing back palming and split fans with. The cards that I'm going to be spinning out into the house at the end of the performance, I use straight out of the box with no preparation, no bending. But for some of the techniques and some of the split fan, single, and spinning sequences, you want the cards to be bent and broken in just a little bit. They have to have a lot of snap. That's why I don't use the bridge-sized back palming cards. Most brands that magic shops sell are essentially too wimpy to hold up to the type of abuse and the type of snap that the cards have to have. A couple of good riffles, a couple of good springs. Getting the cards formed to my hands a little bit. One of the first card spinners that I saw years ago was Bobby Baxter. About 1970, Bobby was performing with Ricciardi in the World Festival of Witchcraft and the Occult, the Felt Forum. I think it was around 1970. He did the boomerang card, where he would throw up a card very high and then catch it. Over the years, Bobby taught me a lot about the art of magic. Before we get into the more advanced spinning techniques, some simple, basic warm-up spinning techniques. One is from the Tarbell course in magic, and it's Audley Walsh's long-distance spinner. This technique was first shown to me by an old New York City magician named Al Faria, who really kept this a tight secret from me for a long, long time, and I had to beg him to get this out. But it's with him in mind that I pass this on to you. He probably picked it up in Tarbell. Take a few cards, palm them in the hand, and there's many different productions, and I think the person that invented this was probably trying to do a single production, and there was a little mistake that looked real good. The thumb pulls back on the inner corner of one of the cards, and you're really bending the cards, and that's why it's important to have a stiff card, and it shoots across. What's happening is that the pressure builds up on all of the card except for the lower corner. That card will then shoot out. Spinning technique number 1, the thumb pulls back, the card shoots out to the side. Very often beginners will do this technique and it'll shoot out an opposite way. Just keep practicing until you can get that to get really high and really fast. And that's your first spinning technique. This is a very fun little sequence, and it's very easy to do, and it makes an impressive walk-on opening. We're using a fantasy, and I cover this pretty extensively in Manipulation Without Tears. It's an invention of Brother John Hammond's, which is a version that I've created that I can do with one hand. The cards are half cards with one folding card. Again, it's detailed much more extensively, and they're also available on my website. But you can build one out of jumbo cards and some tape, and one grommet goes through hinging them together. This technique I use one hand, putting my finger underneath and opening up. This is in the top hat. Now I can start with the end in mind. I can walk on stage with this already ready to rock and roll right in my hand. I can come on stage with the top hat, spinning cards, walking on stage. If I want, I can spin a couple out into the audience. You see how they go to the side and not straight out into the audience? But more often than not, I like to catch them in the hat because it shows skill and precision. Producing a fan of cards, dropping them into the hat. Now I'm going to pull out the entire fan without flashing the back, get my finger inside, squeeze open the fan, and then place on the hat and take my bow. And that is a good opening sequence. This is another little card spinning flourish that I picked up at a magic convention, one of my countless magic conventions that I've attended over the years. The thumb and the index finger grip the card. The index finger pushes the card back into this position. My index finger is going to shoot out, and this is going to be used as kind of a rocket launcher to shoot the card as it spins, gets a little spinning English on it, from the underneath and from the top. That's one more flourish to add to your toolkit. This is just a little flourish flick that my friend Charlie Del Rosso showed me a number of years ago. The card is placed between the thumb and the middle finger and pressed down until the pressure builds too much on the middle finger and it flies off, spinning and catching. I use this in close-up, and occasionally I'll use it on stage as a little flourish. And now it's yours. This is a flourish I've been doing a very long time. On the art of card manipulation, I credited this to Harry Lorraine, but I learned many years later that I developed a different technique. Harry's technique was the one that got everybody started back in the 70s. All the magicians of my generation that were hanging out at magic conventions were doing a version which is in Reputation Makers, where Harry has the cards more curled in his hand and takes one card totally out of grip into this position. It's kind of sticking out. Let me turn the card face up so you can see it. It's in this kind of position, and then it's flicked up into the air and then caught. My version's a little bit different. I came up with a very different technique, just developed it on my own, where I use very straight fingers, and I shoot the card out with my thumb. Now, it's very important that you do exactly the opposite of Harry's version. Harry says you should grow your nail long, I believe, and he has incredible accuracy with his technique. I could never do it that way, so I developed my own way, and I have to trim my thumbnail all the way down, almost like having a rubberized thumb at the end of my finger. But when I have all of that fleshy pad at the end of the thumb, that allows me to get the grip on the card. Now I'll be taking that card and shooting it, instead of taking it out of position, instead of taking the card out of the stack of the other cards, I'm going to leave it in the stack and with the sheer force leverage that card to shoot straight out. And this is the technique that I've been using for years and years and years with my cards. My fingers are in heavy metal headbanger position, and that's the way they stay. These fingers do not curl. They stay very, very straight. My fingers are almost hyperextended the other way. And this allows me to get right down to the bottom in this kind of backward C motion, building up the tension as much as I can and then shooting the card out. The common mistake here is that all the cards will spread, or they'll start to shoot out, or they'll creep out in the middle. This takes practice, and it takes, well, an extraordinary amount of finger strength that will build up. So really take the time to build up the finger strength, and you'll have a very impressive spinning card flourish. This move was taught to me by a magician named Stein Basberg, and I've used it in my shows for years and years, and I've had a lot of fun with it. The card is thrown up into the air, and then I kind of catch as I go down and bring my hand to cushion the card underneath it. Throw it in the air and come down, and I try to get the card to land so its long edges are with the long sides of my hand, the short edges are near my fingertips. The next thing I'm going to do is put the card in the air, bring my hand down, and let my elbow come into swing and hit this corner, the inner right corner, my right side of the card. So watch it. It's hard to do slow. I'm not throwing the card in the air and going to hit it. I'm kind of leaving the card in space and then going to it to hit it up. And as soon as I do that, I move my hand back underneath to catch the card. And I'll do this for as many times as I possibly can, as long as I feel confident that night. This technique is an out for any card juggling sequence where you drop a card. Let's say I'm doing a card juggling sequence and I drop the card. As I look down, my finger bites off a packet of cards and pushes it into a thumb crotch grip. Have it in thumb palm, kind of an edge palm. I look down at the floor. I pretend to step on the card, and then this is the exposed view. The foot comes up, and it looks like I produced the cards off of the foot. Then I come up and do this little fanning sequence, and it looks like I meant to do that. Again, from the side, I drop the card, I look down, point, go to step on the card, the hand pushes the cards into my hand, the foot comes up, and I produce the cards like I meant to do it that way. This is the hacky sack move. Now the hacky sack move is just a little flourish to throw in if you haven't dropped a card and you haven't used your dropping a card fan out. This is a fun move to throw in if you're feeling absolutely fearless. The card starts with that little flick off the tip of the finger, and then it's going to fly, and I'm going to hit it off my heel or the side of my foot, whichever comes up first. And then it bounces back into my hand. Now, sometimes you'll hit it 2 or 3 times before it comes back, but it's a very hot dog kind of a move, and the audience really gets a big kick out of it. The devil stick move. This is kind of inspired by the devil stick. It's also inspired by, well, all the great card spinners that I saw, like Bobby Baxter, the boomerang card, Ricky Jay. I'll talk a little bit more about Ricky later on. This is a flourish that started as just a 1-card toss, kind of a little flick, and catch. And then one day, as a lucky accident, I was trying to catch it. I knocked it back the other way, and knocked it back the other way, and caught it. And I said, wow, if I could do that every time, that would be real good. It's important to have a very crisp card. This is not a card that would be broken in. This would be a very crisp card right out of the box. I'm going to be hitting it up, catching it. That's the first exercise. Holding the card very loosely, hitting it up, and catching it. Now, after you get that a couple of times, now it's trying to bat it back. This is kind of like the devil stick, the juggler's devil stick, where they have the long stick, the 2 other sticks, and they hit it back and forth. I can get it maybe 3 or 4 times, but I can get it consistently about twice. That's a little bit of a different variation, is just keeping it going on one hand. Again, I can do it consistently twice. Let's see if I can keep it going 3 or 4 or 5 times. Sometimes at magic conventions, in the lobby, 3 o'clock in the morning, kids sit around and have contests doing these kind of card stunts. I remember sitting up late night in the lobby with David Copperfield when he came to Tannen's Jubilee years and years ago, and all the kids are having card wars, throwing cards at each other. And there was David hanging out with us, having fun, working on his card magic with us too. But this is one of the things that magicians try to do to show off for each other, and it's a good skill builder and a great lesson in patience. This unique move is called the perfect spinner production, and it was inspired by Walter Gibson's perfect production that I cover on the Art of Card Manipulation series. Just to refresh, the cards are held in palm, the thumb and the index finger work together. The thumb pushes the card up and the index finger traps the card and levers it out. When the perfect production is done here, the card comes out framed. It's done very fast. When you don't use the thumb at all, the card comes up very fast. If you let go and move the index finger forward, if you lever it forward, the card will spin. It's getting control of that spin, which is the knack of this spinning production. I'm in a situation, and we'll cover getting into situations and out of situations later on, where I have cards palmed with the backs against my palms, the front's out. So the cards are going to come out with their face side towards the audience. I can choose to spin a card out, or I can cross my hands and angle my hands so as I'm producing the singles, I can take the next card and spin it over and catch it in my other hand at speed. And I'm catching it between my index finger and thumb. While this card drops, I have the option now of shooting a card back the other way and catching it. So the cards are going in both directions, both from my right hand to my left hand and from my left hand to my right hand. And at the end of the production, I can come up with two fans. And that's the perfect spinner. My two-handed spinning technique that I use in my show I've been developing for years and years. More often than not, I produce the cards with the backs to the audience, and I have a reason for this. Usually the cards are in the hand, palmed, and if I get any leak, the flesh part of the card is going to show instead of the face part of the card. So even though the production maybe looks better like this, the chance of me flashing a little white of the card will blow the entire sequence. So I've made the sacrifice, I guess, when I do this in my routine, of producing the cards with their backs to the audience. Nevertheless, it creates an extraordinary impact. It's using that one-handed spinning technique in both hands simultaneously. I'll show you the breakdown of the moves. Start with about 10 cards in each hand, maybe 10, 12 cards in each hand. Needless to say, you have to learn to do the single spinning move before you start to work with both hands. Now you'll notice when I have a lot of cards in each hand, especially the poker-sized cards, I have to be very careful about flashing. That's why I put the backs towards the audience, and I work that into my split fan sequence later on in my show. I come forward, and my thumb is going to peel back one card, and that's going to fly to my other hand, which is going to catch it. Be careful not to turn your hand too sideways, or there'll be a flash there. Next card comes straight up. These cards get dropped in this sequence. This card goes down. As this card goes down, the right-hand card, the left hand is getting ready to shoot one back across, then up. And I can continue the sequence of across, straight up, across, straight up, across, straight up, across, catch, straight up. And when you build up your speed and timing, you can get the cards crossing simultaneously. More often than not, when you're first starting this, the cards start colliding in the air. I'll turn sideways a little bit so you can see the technique that I use to avoid this situation. With the technique again, about 10 or 15 cards in each hand. When you're starting, you'll maybe want to use less. Cards are in this position, from the side, up, and across, and up. When I do the cards that are crossing simultaneously, and this may take years of practice till you'll get it. It took me, I would say, 2 years before I put it in my show because I didn't trust it. And still, to this day, I have to warm up extensively with this move before I put it in my show, else I look like a total klutz. And if I'm not feeling exceptionally hot and on my technique that day, I will only do maybe one cross. And if they hit and bounce off, I'll go immediately into my fan production, which is my out. So it'll look like, hey, I meant to do it that way. Because most people have never seen that technique before, so who do they have to compare me to? So across, up, catch, and now we're going to go for the crosses. The right hand is going to shoot the card slightly higher than the other card. And this will keep the cards on a different plane so they won't collide in the air. Now when it's front on, they can't tell that one card is slightly higher and this one's going slightly under the other card, because the audience doesn't have the depth perception that you have from your point of view. And now comes the part of the program that we've all been waiting for, where I'm going to share with you my inner secrets of card spinning that helped me get entered into the Guinness Book of World Records. The type of cards that I use are straight out of the box. I don't use any cards that have been worked over or bent in any way. Back palming cards I never use. The type of cards I use are poker-sized cards, and they have to be very, very new and crisp and not played with, not worked with. Don't do your double lifts and faro shuffles with these too much. You want to have the cards as pristine as possible. With the brand that I get, I have one tracking card. It's a white card. It's kind of the advertising card that comes along with my decks. I put on the back. That'll be my first card out. That'll be the first card that I shoot. Now I'm using this McBride grip, which is the modified Harry Lorraine. Now remember, what I said before is Harry used to pull the card out of position and then be able to flick it up. I'm just going to go for the straight shot, straight. Now, to get the long distance, we have to have a little bit of support. And this is something that I've been keeping under wraps for many years. Other manipulators have used it. Joe Casari has used it, and other card spinners have used it. And this is a rubber thumb tip. These are the style of rubber thumb guards that are used by bank clerks and anyone counting paper. These can go on your thumb, but you have a little, since they're so soft, there's a little bit of trouble with them going on. Sometimes if too much pressure builds up, punching a little tiny hole will let your thumb slide in there easier. And once you have worked this onto your thumb, it's not as invisible as a thumb tip, but it will give you a much better grip to be able to shoot the cards. Let's take a look at the action from the side. The same card spinning. The thumb goes all the way down into the lower corner and shoots up, up, up. I'm making a half C motion, and that's what gets the card to fly true. Now you might want to set up a target and do some target practice to get your skill and accuracy set up so you can narrow in on the zone of exactly where you want that card to land. So we've been working with the Secretary's thumb tip that you can buy in a stationery store for counting bills. A much more professional model is ones that I have custom made, which are real thumb tips that are very, very solid. They feel like thumb tips, regular thumb tips, but they're very soft and they have the right sort of rubber stickiness to get a grip on the card, not like a plastic thumb tip. And these will be available on the McBrideMagic.com website on my products page, so you'll be able to get these in the future. But also, in the meantime, before you can get the McGrip Tip Pro model, what you'll be able to do is take one of the Secretary thumb tips, one of the banker's thumb tips, and slip it over a regular thumb tip. And if you work that on and work it down over the thumb tip, really pushing, 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 now you have a thumb tip that, although it might flash on stage, will still handle the cards with great accuracy, and really you'll be able to pick it up really quickly. And that's the important thing. Again, I have that white tracking card, so I can see and kind of zone in on my first card. And now this tip, again, will work almost as well. I don't have quite as much flexibility with this thumb tip as I do with the McGrip tip, which really is flexible. It goes right on and it moves beautifully to give you precision and accuracy in spinning cards. Thumbs up for that. Safety first. Remember that the audience sitting in front of you has very delicate eyes. Never shoot the cards directly into the audience. If you study my tapes, you'll see that I angle the cards to have them bounce off the ceiling, to shoot up and then return to the stage. Be very careful if you look up when that happens. You have to turn your head kind of to the side. Also, I shoot the cards at an angle and they bounce off the walls. Never shoot the cards directly into the faces of the audience. That's very dangerous. Remember, safety first. Now we have our secret gimmicks. How do we load them into play during the course of the routine? Well, over the years, I've developed many different ways of getting into this thumb tip quickly. If you study my tape, you'll notice that at the end of the card sequence, after I do the spinning productions, I come and I produce fans in each hand. I come to take a bow, and I will throw one fan down and come up and then throw the other fan down. As I throw that first fan down, my hand is going inside of my receptacle, whether it's a top hat or a table, and I've made a special little gimmick that I'll share with you that I also talk about in detail on manipulation without tears. Nothing fancy, but most professional props are not. You can tell a professional by the amount of gaffer's tape and coat hanger that they have on their props, and you can just ask about any pro. This is a hard thumb tip. This is a cardboard box that's cut a little bit bigger than a regular deck of cards, because I might put maybe 10 more cards in there just to give me a couple more cards for spinning. And this other card box will be used to put a fanning deck in if I want to do a fanning deck sequence. What I do is I have the cards with my tracking card on the back. That's the first card. Those get loaded into the box that's slightly bigger than a normal style card box. I can put a few cards in there, or I can leave it loose so I can really go in there and quickly and grab them, but they're very sturdy. Now I take my trusty McGrip tip, place it right in there, and I can, all of this cardboard unit is gaffer's tape to a CD jewel box because it's exactly the right size. And if I want it to break down for travel, I can just Velcro the bottom of the box to it. This all goes very nicely into the top hat. Now we've come to the point where I'm going to teach you how to arc the cards and bounce the cards. The thing that is the biggest help is the McGrip tip. This is the thing that really is going to be the tool, because it's very hard to bounce the cards without this secret tool. First, I'm going to arc the cards. Instead of shooting straight at the audience, like I've been shooting at the camera has a piece of glass shield down in front of it, so it's a little bit easier and a little bit safer and a little bit more bulletproof for the cameraman than the average unprotected audience spectator. And you have to remember here that an audience is just made up of all these soft eyes, so I'm going to go on record and say, please be very careful when you do this. I'm going to arc the cards so that they come back towards me. This gives double the length of the spin. If I just shoot a card into a darkened theater, it's just one way. But I'm going to get this arc if I shoot up. When I shoot up, the cards will arc back. And you'll notice on the different versions of my show how that looks. Another thing you might want to try as a practice drill is spinning the cards into the hat, going for speed and height. Speed is a little bit more difficult than height, but it makes for a great practice drill. On the floor bounce, the quality of the floor is very, very important. You really can't do this on carpet. Oftentimes, I'll even put in my contract that there's a piece of masonite 6 feet square, and I'll practice on that before the show, and I'll place that on the carpeted stage. The important thing is that the cards are very flat. Do not bend the cards. And for the camera's sake, I'm going to be shooting the cards face up towards the camera. Now, you're looking kind of at the backstage angle. The audience would be here, because I want to shoot them across the stage so that they hit the wall, that they're not going to go careening into the audience, because that's very dangerous. These things are almost like ninja cards when I throw them out into the audience. So I have to be very, very careful. Bouncing off the floor. I'm going to pick a spot about 7-8 feet out, and I'm going to adjust my hand to get the cards to bounce on that spot. So I'm looking at a little spot on the floor, and I'm going to lock into that spot. And I'm going to keep shooting at that spot until I perfect my bounce. Many of the techniques that I'm using are knacks. They're techniques that you have to work on to achieve success. They're not easy to master by any stretch of the imagination. These are not easy to master techniques. They will take you weeks, maybe months, perhaps even years to get the speed and accuracy that you desire down. Like I said, these are not easy to master techniques, but there's a great reward that comes with mastering something that you've spent years and years working at. So, patience and practice will lead to perfection. Good luck with this technique. Stepping back into the routine. The moment I pick up the cards, I step forward and I start arcing them towards the audience, and I do my first round of cards. And then I take a bow. When I turn again to go into the floor bounces, I riffle off some cards face down into my hands, because I'm going to prepare for the cards from the mouth, which is covered in depth on Manipulation Without Tears. I turn and I start bouncing the cards off the floor. I'll hold one card in this hand to give an excuse to be in this sort of position with about maybe 20 cards palmed. Now I go into my final floor bounces and a final round of shooting them really high and as fast as I possibly can. I throw the rest of the deck in the air, hiding the thumb tip, then I point to my mouth and go into the cards for mouth and toss up the cards for my signature ending. Now that's my signature ending, and I hope it doesn't become your signature ending, but I hope you're inspired by these techniques and these moves that I've put out to the magic community and you watching at home. I suggest that you don't copy my act move for move. You don't want to be a McBride clone. I want you to be inspired by these and invent your own new routines. Many of my students from all over the world that get turned on to my teaching and my magic through my DVDs ask me, where can I get more detailed information or other sources? Well, I've already mentioned my Art of Card Manipulation, Volume 1, 2, and 3. Of course, there's an incredible collection of sleight of hand compiled by Jeff Sheridan on his Genius at Work series that were published by L&L. I consider Jeff one of my primary teachers, and the collection of this master's work is just astonishing. Highly recommended. Also, if you're having trouble learning, you can just attend one of our seminars. We have them all over the world, New York, Amsterdam, all across Europe, and here in Las Vegas. So perhaps visit us at the McBride Magic and Mystery School at one of our upcoming master classes. Well, that brings us to the end of our program. It's my hope that these techniques and the magic in these DVDs inspires you to practice every day, to perform as much as you can, and to keep the magic alive. And one day, I hope to see you here at the Magic and Mystery School here in Las Vegas. I'm Jeff McBride.